Okay, so tonight's homework is Concept 8 on the novel Night, and we're going to be doing a character analysis today, as well as reviewing some of the pieces that we're reading in class. So at the end of tonight's tutorial, you'll know a little bit more about how to look at the specifics of a character, and we will apply that knowledge to 5 different characters that we've met as we've read the novel. Okay, so currently we're reading about how the prisoners are forced to march in the cold weather. Ellie does a really good job at explaining and describing how they're freezing and being forced to march without stopping, and when the prisoners start to fall from exhaustion, like literally fall to the ground, the Nazis just shoot them with no regard to the fact that, you know, they could maybe keep them alive if they just stopped and let them rest. And at one point when they are allowed to rest, Ellie and his father have managed to stay together this whole time, and Ellie starts to fall asleep, and Ellie's father keeps waking him up to keep him from freezing to death by falling asleep and letting your body temperature, go down, and, people do freeze to death that way. So his father actually helps him stay alive. You also start to notice the prisoner is starting to break down in these super harsh, cruel conditions. Ellie notices this specifically when he sees one son just continue to march even after his father falls down. It's like he's gotten to this point where he's no longer thinking about his survival and his father's. He's now thinking about his own survival, and his father is just kind of left in the dust. And Ellie starts to question, will I ever do that? Will I ever come to the point where I'm not looking out for my father anymore? Have I gotten to that point already, and what has changed, etc.? Because Ellie and his father have really relied on each other up till this point. Ellie sees Ulick again, and the whole time Ulick wants to play his violin. He has his violin with him, and he finally plays, through protest, plays a Beethoven concerto, and the next morning Ulick is dead and his violin has been crushed. So that's a very key, important moment. Actually, quite a few of the pieces I've talked about already in what we're reading in class are really important moments and things for us to be paying attention to and think on the significance of that. And then this part ends when the prisoners are being loaded yet again into open cattle cars to be taken to another camp, or moved yet again. That's what I was trying to say earlier. So that's currently what we're learning, or what we're reading. And again, as we read, like I said, you need to be keeping your eye out for key events, main ideas, and their importance to the meaning of the novel, but then also start to notice some of the ways that some of the prisoners are trying to avoid becoming the animals that the Nazis keep telling them they are, this dehumanization piece from the Nazis. Like, how are some of the characters avoiding falling into that trap of, kind of survival at the expense of other people? Just be paying attention for how some characters prove to stay just and humane. All right, so now let's talk about character analysis. So a character analysis is just a really detailed look or study on specific character traits, or the way that the character acts, the way that they feel, the things that they say, what they look like, their thoughts. All of those key pieces are important when you're describing and really analyzing a character and what they're adding to the overall plot and idea of the novel. So how do you actually analyze a character? Well, believe it or not, a lot of you have probably been doing this informally, without even knowing it. Maybe making your own judgments and opinions and predictions in your head, or maybe even in your reader response journal entries if you're doing character descriptions, which is, I think, a prompt that you're allowed to do. Which, in fact, some of this activity that we're going to do at the end of tonight's journal could be turned into, one of those character descriptions. I forget which one it is. I want to say it's 3D or 3C or 4D or 4C or something, where you're allowed to draw a character and do a character description. Well, there's one where you can draw, and then there's another one where you don't have to draw, you just do analysis. So this helps you with that. All right, so what are some pointers? Well, first of all, pay attention to the character's ethics and beliefs. Do they make just or unjust choices? What do they believe in? That sort of thing. Decide if the character has wisdom Or do they make stupid choices? Commenting on those things will help in a character analysis. And what are their motivations? Remember, we worked on this in our science fiction unit at the beginning of the year. The why behind the character's actions. You can also look at whether the character's behavior affects those around them, other characters. So like Ellie and his behavior and what he does and how that affects his father would be something to think about. Look for words that the author uses repeatedly to describe a character, because those often are very telling. Be aware of objects that are associated with the character, so like Ulick and his violin. Those things are huge, because they definitely define who and what that character is. Look for implicit behaviors, like read between the lines. We know what the word implicit and explicit mean. So we studied this with our inference unit. So read between the lines. Sometimes some of the things that the character doesn't do are just as important as what the character does do. So look at those things that they may be thinking and feeling but not acting on, because that's definitely important. Think about the historical context of the story. So obviously right now we're doing historical fiction unit. We're reading this novel Night. A lot of these actions and things that are happening are a direct reflection to this point in history, which is why we did all of that background information and built all of that historical context so that we can better understand the novel itself. So try really hard to keep from making any of those modern day opinions about the past and put those actions of the character within that historical context that we've been learning about so much, And then finally, also think about the author's purpose. Like, what judgments does the author seem to have toward this character that they have created? If they're giving any hints or ideas as to how they feel through the words on the page. Okay, so when we look at what happened during the Holocaust, some of the prisoners definitely found a way to protest or battle against the Nazis nonviolently. They found an inner strength that really helped them. Think about, I just got finished grading your first attempt on inference from our last proficiency and Dirk's story, and a lot of you wrote on the theme of never give up hope. So how did Dirk find that hope to survive in his experience and stories of the labor camp? It's very similar to, we can apply a lot of those same ideas and concepts from Dirk's story and how he survived to some of the characters within Night. So who was able to find that inner strength to survive? Our author almost gives us the impression that the survival of these prisoners was purely by chance. And I've read other novels that are the same way. I used to, when I taught regular language arts, would read the novel The Cage by Ruth Minsky Cinder, which is a really easy, good read. I really enjoy that book. And it seemed like a lot of times things got better just by happenstance, just by pure luck. And so sometimes Ellie leads us to believe the same thing, that things just happened by chance. But as the reader, we can definitely see different ways where the conditions of the camps and the experiences that these characters are having give hope and strength to some, but then create weakness in others. So I would like to, this isn't on the activity, but go back to the beginning of the book where Ellie and his father first arrive at Auschwitz, and they see their cousin, I forget his name, but the cousin from like Antwerp or something. And Ellie lies to the cousin. He says, "Oh, have you gotten news from home? I left in order to, save my wife and children. Have you heard from them?" And Ellie lies to the cousin and says, "Oh, yeah, they're fine. And that gives this man hope to carry on, that he'll see his family again. And then when he finds out or gets news that there's a train arriving from his hometown, he gets all excited, thinking maybe he's going to see his family, but it's then that he finds out the truth, and that his family did not survive, and they don't see that cousin again. He's lost his will to live. So Ellie's lie to him created strength and hope to continue, whereas when he finds out the truth that his family is gone, that created a weakness in him, and he did not survive the camps. So as you start to piece together those different kinds of things, all of those are key important bits and pieces and bubbles that you really, as a reader, to show that you're really comprehending and you can do a deeper character analysis, that you start to notice. Okay. So what I would like for you to do is create a little chart, just like we've been doing, that you're going to see on the next slide. And you're going to write down, I've got 5 names of characters from night, and you're just going to comment on their character traits, strengths, and weaknesses. And we'll grade this again in class tomorrow, just like we've been doing. Plus, if you ask or do enter, I don't know why I said ask, but if you enter the very last bonus question on the digital whisk for tonight's homework, you can get some extra credit points if you do just one of your character analysis, but turn it into like a paragraph form. And again, like I said, this information could also be transformed and used in your reader's response journal because it fits one of the prompts. Okay, so it's a 4-column chart. The 2 columns on the end can be small. I think the 2 in the middle should be the larger ones. I tried to show that for you, but the best I could. But anyways, so you've got 5 people. I just want you to tell me like what their experience was like in the novel, like a sentence. And then explain that character. Are they strong or weak, or what has made them so? Think about those 9 steps that I just gave you. So that column should be longer, a couple of sentences. And then finally, did this character live or die? So maybe we can start to piece together the strength of that character and the different things that belong to their traits that allowed them to survive. So you write down the name of the character. So we've got Moishi the Beetle, Madam Shachter, Ellie, Akiba, and Ulick. You're going to write down what their experience was like in the novel. That's like a sentence or so. And then you're going to explain the character. That's a couple of sentences. And then just put, did they live or die? Just live or die. 1 word. It doesn't need to be more than that. And do that for the other pieces here. And again, you could take 1 row of this, like the information on Moishi the Beetle, type that into the digital piece, and you'll get some extra credit points for your whisk. Or you could take this information and put it into a reader's response journal and create a really good journal entry, character analysis. Okay, so don't forget to answer the questions in the digital section. You're done for tonight. And thanks for taking a deeper look at the novel. I think we're doing a really good job, really kind of comprehending lots of different pieces as we read this book. Hopefully you're proud of yourself. So I'm definitely proud of all the work you guys have been doing. So we'll check this out tomorrow in class, and I'll see you later.